Hello, you are listening to Just Films and That. This is the podcast where we talk about films we think might be underrated or underseen. So, let's see what we've got this week. Alice. Have a good Christmas?
Oh, wonderful Christmas.
Yeah.
I
Eventful?
always have a jolly time at Christmas.
Yeah, indeed. So, this week then, as you'll see from the title, Happy Feet. It's from 2006. Now, Alice, you've chosen this one. Spoiler warnings if you've not seen Happy Feet. So, there is a reason why you've picked this, apart from the fact that you think it's underrated or underseen, which is I set you a little bit of a challenge to find a film suitable for that in-between Christmas and New Year period where all you're eating is what's left over, the cheese and the ham and the biscuits and the chocolate. And
It's the celebrations, and
there's
it's
no-
the
yeah,
fistfuls of celebrations, right?
Are you in work? Are you not in work? You
Don't
know,
know.
what
I don't
time do you get
actually
up? What time do you go to bed?
I'm still asleep now.
How early can you have your first glass of wine? What films are on the telly? All that sort of stuff. That endless and joyous period between New Year and Christmas, which we call in-betweenmas. And I set you a challenge to pick a film, a little bit like we've done in the past, except it's always fallen to me just because it has. So we've done the things before, like Mouse Hunt. Did we do Knight's Tale last year? Was that in-betweenmas last year?
I think it was.
So you've chosen Happy Feet. Is that because you think this is a good in-between-messy film?
Well, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have fulfilled the challenge, would I? I would have fallen at the first hurdle. But yeah, I think I've completely adhered to the brief with this one. I think most successful suggestion by me. So you're welcome, everybody. Yeah. But I'll let you all know what Happy Feet is about and a little bit more about why I picked it. So Happy Feet is an animated film about penguins living in Antarctica. The main plot is all about the fact that a newborn penguin called Mumble can't sing, which is very important in the penguin world. But he is a heck of a dancer, which some of the other penguins think is pretty cool, but the older, grouchier penguins think it is an absolute atrocity. So Mumble goes on a bit of a journey, emotionally and literally, to find out more about who he is and how he fits into the world. There's also a bit of a narrative going on in the background exploring how human activity is negatively impacting the ecosystem in the area as well. So why did I pick it? So, little bit of a cheat with this, in that it's a tiny bit of a listener suggestion, because Ollie has been nagging me to do this film, I think maybe since I started doing the podcast.
Right. That's your husband, if everyone doesn't know.
Sorry, the man I'm married to. He loves this film, and he has been nagging me pretty much since I started the podcast to do this film. He absolutely loves it, and he reckons it's underrated. And I reckon it might be a little bit underrated as well. I think when you think of in terms of other animated films similar to this by the big boys like the Pixar and the DreamWorks and such.
The titans of animation.
You know the ones. I don't really think it falls into the same kind of category as those, and it doesn't really get spoken about in the same way. And I think there's a lot in there. There's just a lot in there, and I think it offers quite a lot. Had you seen this one before, Josh?
Alice, I hadn't.
Oh, that's exciting,
I had not seen this before. So
it?
I was thinking about this because we definitely had it on DVD back in the day when you had DVDs. So I'm the oldest. I've got younger brother and sister who are 6 and 10 years younger than me. And they, I think, liked it. And we definitely had the DVD. Yeah. And it was one of those where, it was like one of those times where back when you bought DVDs, when you just constantly were buying DVDs to keep the kids occupied because streaming wasn't a thing yet. So we definitely had this. I'm fairly certain it's been on whilst I've been in the house. But if this came out in 2006, I would have been 15, 16. So I think it's just passed me by. I just think it just hit me in the wrong age bracket. It's just not one I've ever gone back to or ever watched at the time. Obviously, I knew what it was about, and I knew things like Robin Williams was in it, and it was about a tap dancing penguin and stuff like that. So I hadn't watched it before. So I was quite interested to go into it because obviously it was a little bit, the pressure was on a little bit more with this episode, and it wasn't just about underrated, underseen films. It was about, is this film a good film for that time of year? So I'll come to you first. First of all, did you watch it?
No, don't come to me first. I want to know what you thought, Josh. I want to know if I won the episode.
I'll say this, okay? So like we have with other films, I tried to watch from the point of view of if I was the target audience, would I like it? So it is. It's a family film, but I do think it skews more towards kids than adults. And with that in mind, I think it is brilliant. Okay, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty.
I wasn't sure. Yeah, listeners, where he was going with that.
It's probably not perfect, but I thought it was pretty joyous. And I think if I'd have been a kid, if I'd have been the right age when this came out, or if I was a parent looking for something to watch with my kids, this would definitely be up there, especially for that time of year. It's up there, you bang it on, and it's definitely, there's loads and loads that I liked about it. So we'll come on to that. So obviously you've watched this again because you had seen it before. Did you watch it with Ollie?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
And did he talk all the way through?
Not all the way through. Not all the way through. Just every now and then to fill me in.
Yeah. So when I say that, by the way, for people who don't know Ollie's husband, which is presumably most of the people listening, that doesn't mean like Ollie just sits and talks through films. I mean, like, because he was excited, did he ask you questions or point stuff out to you? I don't mean he just like did a fucking director's commentary.
He does do that sometimes. Sometimes it is really helpful. Like when we watched Dune, and he's read the books, right?
Oh yeah.
And there's loads in there that you don't get if you haven't read the books. So every now and then something would happen, he'd go, "Oh, just so you know, this is because of this thing and that thing." And I actually found it really helpful. Like I didn't find it irritating. He did it through the Hobbit films as well, because he's read that and he just, because he reads so much, like he just absorbs information. So he knows so much about so many things, especially films and that. So when we're watching stuff, if he knows more than I do, he will say, "Oh, just so you know, this is because of this," and like give me the wider context. Yeah. And most of the time, it's really, really helpful. There are odd occasions where I'm like, "Can you just shut up? I'm trying to watch a fucking film." But most of the time, it's appreciated.
He can tap dance, all right? It's not hard to understand, Ollie. Yeah. So go on then. So you've watched it again with a critical eye. You picked it. What did you like about it? And then I'll tell you what I liked about it.
So I did enjoy it more this time around, I think, watching it for that analysis. I'd only actually seen it once before. And some of the things that I didn't like about it were quite strong during that first viewing, and they do still stand now, and we'll get into that later. But I could really appreciate the more positive things about it, and there were plenty of those as well. So I do think it looks pretty great. And not only in terms of the quality of the animation, but also the style, because they've gone for something that is quite realistic here, where the animals actually look like the animals that they're supposed to be, and not like sort of cartoony or exaggerated versions of themselves. And I appreciated this for immersion purposes. And I think it also helps to emphasize the more serious messages of the film, which include, things like overfishing, pollution, and keeping animals in captivity. But then also visually, things like the snowflakes and the feathers on the birds are like really intricate and detailed. And there's loads of shadow in this as well that I really noticed this time around, because it's very sunny a lot of the time in Antarctica. And so sometimes you would just see hundreds and hundreds of penguin shadows reflected on the snow. And I just really appreciated all the work that got into that. So I mentioned briefly there some of the themes that are in this. And I do like the way how they handle the human interference impacting them in this, because it isn't rammed down your throat, and it's not really what the film revolves around, but it is there, and it is a present message. And I am pleased that the filmmakers included it, because I don't think they really had to, really. Like, if it wasn't there, would it be missed? Like, would you miss it? And would people be crying out for a bit more realism? I don't know. But then thinking about it, it's like, say if you watched a film about the Amazon rainforest and it didn't include anything about deforestation, that would feel a little bit weird, I think. But in this instance, I don't really know, like, if it was like a crucial part of it, or if you would have missed it if it wasn't there. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that.
It's difficult, isn't it? It's a bit chicken and egg. It's a bit chicken and egg, because there is an element of, if you go to tackle an issue, then you've got to get that balance right. Otherwise, it feels like you're ramming an issue down people's throats, which is not, which is, it's definitely one of the things that cinema and all art can be used to do. But equally, sometimes people just want to switch off. So you've got to get the balance right. In terms of would I notice it, I think the concept of the penguins and overfishing, it drives the plot, doesn't it? So one of the things that drives the plot, apart from the fact that it's a penguin that can't sing, is that they're running out of fish. So because it drives the plot, I think you probably do need it in there. Otherwise, it just seems like they're running out of fish.
Yeah, well, where are all the fish? Please tell me where the fish are.
And equally, if you don't include the humans and they are running out of fish, well, it could be set at any time, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Because if there's no, they could just be running out of fish because they've eaten all the fish. Whereas it's clearly set in the modern day.
Mm-hmm.
So you get that thing of, oh right, it's about overfishing. So I really liked that. I thought I thought they got the balance right, and I thought they did run that risk of people going, oh, don't get me wrong, the issue is important. I'm not saying that, but people do go, I don't really want you to ram that issue down my throat. I just want to see a nice film about a tap dancing penguin that sing, with other singing penguins or whatever. So no, I thought they got that pretty right, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, I think so too. I think at times as well, it does a great job of capturing the harshness of Antarctica and what it actually means for animals who live there, like with the storms and some of the wind and the darkness. Like it feels quite oppressive and dominating at times, especially the scene where all the dad penguins are huddled together to try and keep warm. And then Memphis, who's Mumble's dad, he drops his egg, which has got Mumble in it. And I think you really feel the intensity of that moment because of the atmosphere and the surroundings that the film has created. And then just in terms of the story, I really like how it presents the idea of suppressing a key part of yourself and how stupid it is when other people tell you what you can or can't do or should or shouldn't be. Obviously, if it's not hurting anyone or causing actual damage to people, then everyone should be able to just express themselves as they wish. And the reaction that the group has to Mumble being a dancing penguin as opposed to a singing penguin is so over the top and ridiculous. And I think that that's just really helpful in how it is mocking people in real life who hold these very rigid ideas, and that any deviation from those ideas must be wrong somehow. Like the old grouchy penguins look so stupid and ridiculous because the way they describe Mumble and his dancing is so dramatic and so stupid.
Like he's a heathen, isn't it?
It's so it's beyond any kind of overreaction or anything. And it just I just really liked that it's poking fun at those ideas, at those sort of people that are like, no, you must fit into this box and you cannot deviate from this. And if you do, we will shun you and you won't be allowed in society and all this nonsense. So I just really appreciated it. And I appreciate the way how they deal with it because it's so outrageous.
Yeah, I like that as well. I think that was one of the things that I noticed is that it obviously it's got that environmental message that we touched upon as well. But like any family film, it's got another message in there. Obviously, the environmental message, should I say, is a little bit more practical or a little bit more pragmatic, whatever you want to call it. Whereas there's also a thing in there about being yourself, accepting being different, like you say, not suppressing who you are, that sort of thing. And I think they do it really, really well. I mean, it should go without saying, but I'm going to say it. But it's a good concept done really, really well. That's pretty much what I thought it is. So shall I tell you what I thought?
Yes, please. Yes. Please do. Go ahead.
I'll touch on some of the things you've said in what I'm saying as well. But overall, really, really loved the concept. I know it sounds silly, but I'm going to say it again. It's a good concept done well. I think that's a lot of family films. It's a simple concept. And it's done really, really well. If you think about any of the Disney films or of the DreamWorks films or other family films, that's what they are. But what you do then is you take that simple concept and you expand that out into creating comedy, and it gives you a broad canvas to work with as well. And I thought it worked really, really well. Obviously, there's something in there for everyone too, in terms of the kids are going to love how colourful it is and how it looks, which I'll come back to. But then equally, it's a jukebox musical. So for a film that's about the penguin that can't sing, it is also a jukebox musical. So you've got Queen, you've got, I think there's an ABBA song in there, you've got Boogie Wonderland, Earth, Wind and Fire, and then obviously the film opens with a Prince song, so it was winning me over from straight away because I'm a massive, massive Prince fan. So I loved that. I think that's the sort of thing that you're going to get the parents tapping away at. Do you know what I mean? That's the sort of thing that you think, like, put Happy Feet on, but at least it's got some songs in it I like. That sort of thing. So love the idea of his parents being Elvis and Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
Like, obviously they're not called that.
Star-crossed lovers we never had.
Yeah. So he's not called Elvis and she's not called Marilyn. Is she called Norma Jean?
She is Norma Jean,
and he's Memphis. Yeah. So it's obvious. I mean, they might as well just call them Elvis and Marilyn, but obviously I really like that. And you've got Hugh Jackman, so it's directed by George Miller, who did Mad Max and a few Babe. He did Babe as well, and a couple of other bits. He was supposed to do a Justice League film, which he never got to make, which apparently looked really, really good. But he directed this, so there's a big Aussie influence in it. Because you've got, like you say, Hugh Jackman, Hugo Weaving, and Nicole Kidman, Steve Irwin's in it at one point as well.
Yeah, he is.
God rest him. So I like that. Like any family film, it's got some good comedy in it. So it's got obviously Robin Williams in it, doing his thing. He plays about 6 characters in it. He plays multiple different penguins. And I laughed a lot more than I thought I was going to, particularly at his parts, like the fact that he plays these little sort of Mexican or Spanish penguins that at one point are just taking the absolute piss out of a seal. Absolutely, I just chuckled at that. I was just on my own chuckling at a kid's film. So I really like that. Just to come back to the look as well. I mean, this film looks expensive.
It does.
It looks expensive.
It's got that shine to it, hasn't it?
And I don't know how it did box office wise, but it's one of those films. Have you ever seen or heard of? I think it's called Mars Needs Mums.
Right, I think I've heard of it.
And it was a film that they put absolutely loads of money into.
Oh, really?
And it just made fuck all.
Oh no!
And I think it was something like 200 million quid. It was like, we're talking a Marvel film or a big Pirates of the Caribbean blockbuster or something type budget. And they obviously I don't know how this did, because obviously I try and avoid all stuff about box office and stuff like that, but it looks expensive. But when I say it looks expensive, I mean in a good way. It looks like they use their job right, because what you've got in it is, not only is it animated in a more photorealistic style, which I will come back to later, but also you've got actually real people in it. So you don't really, you don't really think of that Roger Rabbit animation with real people thing in it, and it's not like Roger Rabbit. They're not like handing each other stuff and talking. Every time you see them, they keep them separate. But there are times where both animation and live action are on the screen at the same time, which is just famously really, really expensive. But it looks really, really good. It doesn't look like you're looking at a cartoon penguin in front of a real human, or to any degree that you think it looks stupid, I suppose is what I'm trying to say.
I get that. So just because you brought it up quickly, so its budget was $100 million and it grossed $384 million, and it is considered to be the 10th highest grossing film of 2006.
Right. So only 100 million, eh? Do you know what I mean?
Only 100 million, just peanuts.
Just small
peanuts,
change, that. Isn't it? So obviously it made its money back just about when you factor in marketing. So it wasn't like so what's that? 100 million made, what did you say? 350 million, something like
380
that.
something.
Yeah, so it made a fair whack then. So yeah, so we know it's probably not underseen. Based on that.
No, I don't think it's underseen.
Yeah, so it looks really good. Like you say, it does a really good job using that stark landscape of the Arctic. In parts, it looks like a kid's film. In parts, it's like an Attenborough documentary. It's like Frozen Planet or something, isn't it? I think it looks really good, really striking in places as well. So I think there was loads to like in there. So I can't say it enough. I thought it was just really well made. It was a bit of a feast for the eyes, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah,
I think that the one of the things that I took away from it, and I'll just finish on this, is this would be boss in the cinema.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Much better. I don't care how big your telly is. My telly's not that big, but I bet it looked well good in the cinema. Okay, so let's move on to talking about things that we perhaps didn't like about Happy Feet, or that we would change about Happy Feet. Alice, can you bring yourself to call the penguins? Can you bring yourself to be mean about Happy Feet?
Oh, well, I can be mean about the film. I don't want to be mean about the penguins. Because you hate penguins.
Is this because this film is like an anti-Free Willy?
And you know what? What I hate about this film is there isn't enough orca.
And there's only 2 and they're villains.
We only get 2 orca, and they're not in it for very long. I'd have loved to have seen more orca tormenting the penguin. No, not really. But I do love orca, and I love what they're doing. I love it all. But yeah. More orca. So the main thing for me, and I don't know, I know that this is me being really picky. This is a huge personal preference thing, and I don't know if this just says something about me or what, right? But I do find that some of the adult penguins are presented just a little bit strangely. Like the women have these breathy, sexy voices and sing a lot about being turned on. Yeah. And the relationships between the male and the female penguins feel quite sexually charged.
Well, if I had to pick a film, if I had to pick a film that was trying to make me bang a penguin, it's this, isn't it?
was weird, right? Did you pick up on this as well?
A little bit, and a little, they do that thing where they anthropomorphize them slightly, even though they're photorealistic. So like Gloria, who's voiced by, sadly now passed away, Brittany Murphy, is like, seems to have lipstick on. That's the only, I was like, how do you differentiate who's Gloria? She seems to have lipstick on.
She's got where the rest of them have an orange bit. She's got pink,
a pink bit, yeah.
She? Yeah.
So yeah. I know what you mean. It is a little bit like that, but then maybe, I suppose because they're singing, is that just part of the overall idea of the chorus and the dancing and the back and forth? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I know there must be a reason, and obviously they've gone,
Sexy
like you
penguin.
say, they've gone for the Marilyn Monroe, Elvis thing, and iconically in her movie roles, that is how Marilyn Monroe spoke and that. But it was just a bit of a weird. It was just a bit of a weird choice. Like, I just thought it was odd, and they're like, "Hey, Daddy, are you gonna look after the eggs today, Daddy?" and all that. And I was like, it was weird. But I'm glad you picked up on it as well. So all the animals have different accents, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't mind in principle, but I would maybe like some context around why.
Why is the boss an old Scottish penguin?
Like I can get, why some of the different species have different accents, because they are likely to spend time in different areas, especially some of the birds that are flying around. Well, yeah, you are going to have different accents from these penguins. But like a lot of the different penguins in the same colony had different accents. So it just kind of left me with some questions. And I would have liked it to have been a bit more explained.
Why
are you Scottish?
Like, why is he Scottish? Why is he Elvis?
Well, yeah, why are you from Tennessee? Why are you Scottish? And I think there's a couple of them that sound really English in there as well. Loads of the Spanish ones. I just thought it was all really weird. And then you've got like the birds who are quite Australian, and then I think there's walrus. Are they walrus or are they elephant seals?
Elephant seals.
They might be elephant seals actually.
Yeah, what are they, English or Australia?
I thought they were Australian as well, yeah.
A lot of them are actually from hot countries that don't have penguins. So, I mean, like you say, have they all been released from captivity? Like, were they all been like, I don't know, was one of them in Edinburgh Zoo, and that's why he's got a Scottish accent?
I thought that, and I was like, if so, that's a genuine plot point. Like,
yeah, it's the sort of question that a kid would ask you as a parent. And I don't know, I've not got kids, but obviously I've got nieces and nephews, and lots of my friends have got kids. And it's the sort of thing where you'd be watching it and the kid would go, it's like how's the egg get there, Dad? Oh,
yeah.
Shit. But it's why are all the penguins got different accents, Dad? And you think, I have to pull something out of my arse now, aren't I? I have to make something. I'm going to have to lie to this child. Because I can't explain that what's probably happened is that actors with egos have gone, I want to do it as Spanish. And the director's gone, do what you want. Yeah, fine.
Because is it Hugo Weaving?
He's the Scottish one. Yeah.
Like,
Agent Smith. Yeah.
Why? So that was weird.
And he is Australian.
Is he?
Yeah, so Hugo Weaving is Australian. He's obviously got his break through Australian telly. That's probably now how he knows George Miller. Have you not seen Priscilla, Queen of the Desert?
No, I've seen The Matrix and I've seen Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he's in
Australian in there.
Yeah, so what he can do there, Alex, is that as a professional actor, he does accents.
Shut up. No way. I'm not having it.
You know how he's really quick and could do martial arts in The Matrix?
Yeah, that's all real and legit.
Yeah, I don't think he can stop in bullet time in real life. I have not asked him. Hugo, if you're listening.
You don't know, Josh. You don't know what he's capable of, to be honest. If you're from Australia, you're capable of anything.
Your issue is that the penguins are from different places and they're too sexy?
They're a little bit too sexy. And then just finally, so the end credits are freaking weird, man. Like, they scroll up the screen at a really weird angle, and I hated it. And I don't know why they did that or what they were trying to achieve.
What was the other one that you didn't like the end credits for?
Thunder Road.
That was it.
It was bad.
Yeah.
This is worse, though. This is worse than that. Like, with Thunder Road, it was just the font that I didn't like well, and they were cross-fading from one page to the other, which was weird. But this one, I mean, listeners, if you've not seen it, I would literally just YouTube. Weird. I would just YouTube end credits Happy Feet. It is bizarre. Like, it comes out the screen. What is it? Like, it's like a reverse or like opposite Star Wars scroll. Where it's like
opposite
a weird
Star Wipe.
Yeah, like it's it's not Star Wipe, but you know the Star Wars text when it
sorry, I thought you meant the Star Wipes and Star Wars.
No, yeah, but there is a lot of wipes in this film. Instead of
scrolling up to down to up, it goes up to down. Right, right. I see what you mean.
It was just such a weird choice.
I turned it off after the end credits. I don't need to know who the best boy was.
I was looking.
Well, there probably isn't one because it's an animation.
But I was looking at it and I was like, this is weird and I don't know why they've done it like this. So that kind of annoyed me as well. But that was it. So just little things, really. But the breathy, sexy penguins was something I noticed the first time around. And then this time around as well. And I was like, oh yeah, that is a bit strange. Do you think
it's because they can't have an Antarctic accent because no one knows what one is?
So I'd thought this, and it's like, is it this sort of interesting amalgamation of different sort of accents and cultures and whatever, because there is no standard, as far as I know, there is no standard Antarctica accent. But again, I need a throwaway line about that maybe, or just something, just give me a bit of context as to why this fella's from Scotland and this fella's from Spain and they live on the same bit of ice.
Why are they all so horny?
Do you know what I mean? Just give me some info. But that's it for me. What about you?
Before I answer, does Ollie have anything? Since it was sort of his listener suggestion, did he mention anything to you, or did he just love the tap dancing, sexy accented penguins?
The end credits, he said. He was like,
well, you've lost me now. 2 hours of this.
Exactly. He was like, well, if you're only going to have one thing to not like about this film, then this has got to be it. And I'd already written down a couple of things, and I was like, that's not the only thing for me, babe, but
okay. For me, there's not loads. I've got one thing, but you might be able to help me with this, so that this will inform my opinion on it. Is some of it meant to be 3D, or is it a bit too early for 3D? Because obviously it's 2006, so it's pre the big 3D explosion post Avatar. But is it meant to be 3D? Because some bits I thought looked like it were meant to be 3D.
Okay, that's interesting. But like, just in the way, like, in the way that the images sort of layered,
is that meant to jump out at the screen at me?
Right.
Or is it just that they've made it? They've just tried to make it more immersive.
So I actually have no idea about that.
Okay.
I can see here that Happy Feet 2 was released in 3D.
Maybe it's not then,
which is interesting.
In that case, my only real issue is that some of the animation took a little bit of getting used to.
Okay.
Because it's so photorealistic. It's nowhere near as bad as your recent Disneys, where I'm thinking, I don't want to know what a lobster would look like if it could talk and sing. But there is bits where that uncanny valley sort of dead behind the eyes thing.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a little bit of that, but I got used to it in the end. I think I got used to it. So that took me about 20 minutes, half an hour to get into it. It was a little bit like, because it is a certain style, I think it just took some getting used to. And the only other thing is, it probably skewed a little bit young for me. But then it is a family film, and I would probably say it's more a kid's film than a family film, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But no, other than that, no, I thought it was, I suppose the last note on this, obviously it's not for me. But I would definitely watch this with my kids, and I think it will hold up as well. There's no reason why this, in 20 years' time, as far as I know, I don't know what will happen. But it's 50, what is it now? 2006, so it's 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it still looks good, doesn't it?
It does.
So there's no reason why it won't look as good and feel as good in 17 years' time. When if I'm going to have kids, I'll certainly have them by then. So I'll be in my 50s. Yeah, so I would definitely, whilst it not be for me, it might not be for me now, I would definitely watch it with my kids. And I think it's a shame that I didn't see it in the pictures, because I reckon it would be really immersive, kinetic experience. And it's definitely one you think, if they did release it in the cinema and you had kids, it'd definitely be the thing you think, I'll go out my way and take them to it, because it'd be good. But no, nothing much for the dislikes from me. So let's move on to talking about the critical reception then. So I haven't seen any critical reception. We've obviously talked about the box office, so we don't need to come back to that. Now, you've picked it because you think it's underrated. You obviously think quite highly of it, and your other half thinks even highlier of it. So if you're saying it's underrated, I think you're probably thinking this is because you're a bit harsher than me. I think you're probably thinking this is a 7. So I'm thinking maybe are we talking a high 5, low 6 for this, and you're thinking that would be underrated. So I'm going to say high 5, low 6. What would I give it? Yeah, I think it's probably a solid 7, 7.5 out of 10. It's just, I can't say it enough. It's a really good concept made really well, and it's just entertaining. And I think the target audience will definitely like it. But anyway, go on. How did it do?
Okay, great. Well, I appreciate your feedback, Josh. So at the time of recording over on IMDb, it gets a 6.4 out of 10. Okay. And then over on Rotten Tomatoes, the audience give it 70%, and then the critics give it 76%.
So
the critics actually liked it more than the audience.
What's the average out at then?
I don't know. You do the maths. You're the maths guy.
What were the scores?
6.4 or 64, 76 and 70.
So that would be 7 out of 10.
Bang on, is it? Yeah, well, that's interesting. So those scores aren't awful, really. I do think the 6.4 that's definitely low.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a little bit harsh.
I think if it's getting 7 out of 10 overall, though, I wonder if maybe this is actually, for me, appropriately rated. But it's probably still underrated for Ollie, to be fair.
Just who's going to have the house and who's going to move out?
Listen, as long as I get the dog, I don't give a shit. So what do you think about that?
So I would say that's it's difficult, isn't it? Because normally we can say the critics score under it can sort of underpin it, and you can say, well, that is underrated, but the critics are kinder than the audience. Yeah. So I would say it's slightly underrated, if a little bit more appropriately rated. It's borderline. So we'll put it out. We'll put it out to the listeners then. So then the other question is this a good in between Christmas and New Year film? What do you reckon?
I think I get a 10 out of 10 for that, to be honest. I think this was an excellent choice by me.
I agree. We will add it to the we'll add it to the in-betweenmas shelf with Knight's Tale and Mouse Hunt of films that you can stick on and enjoy a box of quality Street 2 and think about how you're going to have to go back to work in a couple of days.
Perfect.
So there we go, another episode in the bag. Happy Feet is we reckon it's a good in-betweenmas film, and we reckon it's a little bit maybe underrated, maybe appropriately rated, but we'll put that out to you guys. It's certainly worth a watch, so I think we can both say that. We'll be back next week with another episode. It'll be our first episode, Alice, of 2024.
Wowzers,
indeed.
Doesn't time fly?
It does indeed. So we're going to be doing a little bit of something different. Rather than talking about a film, we're going to be doing a little bit of a look back at all the films we've done this year, and just discussing, favourites and stuff like that. Just a little bit of a retrospective on 2023, the best of 2023, if you will. And then we will be back the week after with some more, normal films. So until then, we'll see you next time. The email address, if you'd like to get in touch with us, is filmsandthatpod@gmail.com. We're on all the social medias if you just search for Just Films and That. We're on Patreon as well, so if you want to support us with a little bit of cash and get some bonus content, ad-free episodes, then the link is in the episode description. Patreon.com/Just Films and That. Tiers start at £1 a month, and all tiers include ad-free extended episodes with a little bit of bonus stuff in there as well. We're on the television as well, aren't we, Alice?
We are indeed. Every Friday from 6 p.m. you can find us on the local TV network. So if you live in Birmingham, Bristol, Leeds, Liverpool or the northeast of England, you can find us on Channel 7 on Freeview. Or if you live in North Wales or South Wales, you can find us on Channel 8 on Freeview. And I'm also uploading all the videos to Dailymotion. So if you want to go mosey on over there, have a look at what we're up to, search Just Films and That, and you'll be able to see our beautiful faces talking about all our favourite underrated and underseen films.
Indeed, lots of ways to see us, hear us, get in touch with us. But as ever, thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next week. We hope you had a very good Christmas and have a good New Year's Eve as well. Cheerio, see you in 2024.
Oh, God, that's horrible. Bye.